I'm here today to talk to you about my new book, The Sign on My Father's House. Newfoundland, you may know, was the first province to be settled in Canada, but it was the last province to join the Confederation of Canada, which it did approximately 70 years ago. Newfoundland went through a lot of changes. And when we joined Canada, there was an awful lot of cultural changes that some people were in favour of and more people did not want. We were opened up to the life in mainland Canada and the United States with the Trans-Canada Highway. Electricity came, television, radio, about that time, 49, early 50s. So you can imagine there was a lot of politics involved and a lot of people in favour of joining Canada. They were called Confederates, they were with Joe Smallwood, and a lot of people did not want to join. We joined, the vote was 51 to 49, and a lot of changes, as I say, have occurred since. My book is set in that period. It's called The Sign on My Father's House, and it gives you an idea of some of the strident feelings people had about it. We were, before Confederation, a separate country. We were a dominion of Newfoundland. We had our own coin, our own stamps, we had our own, we had a prime minister then, you know, our own circulation. So my book is set in that period. It's about the people involved, and I'd like to read a little bit of it to you tonight, if I may, or give you an idea of what the main characters are about. So perhaps I'll do that now, and tell you that my book is it's a love story, but it's about a relationship between a father and a son. The father is very strident. He's the guy who puts the sign up at his house, condemning Joe Smallwood, which is okay, except that everybody in the community loved Joe Smallwood. Well, there's your conflict. And let's have a look at some of the characters. So, my book is about a search for an identity, not just in the main character, Felix, but in Newfoundland. We were trying to find, we were Canadians now. Did that mean we're still Newfoundlanders or not? So it's a search for a personal identity and a search for an identity of the people. And it's called The Sign on My Father's House, but there are 15 signs in the book. And each one, you'll see, reflects a certain character and where they were going and a certain attitude that the plot was taking at that point in the story. So let's begin. I'm going to introduce you to, let's introduce you to Father first. Father has building a sign put up on the house, and not everybody's happy. Felix is the narrator. He's telling you the story. In the house, Shirley was upset. She was a pretty woman with dark hair that came in loose curls to her shoulders. She had heard the nails going into the house and must have felt the pain of each one. "Your supper is ready," she said. We ate our hash silently until she asked, "What did you nail to the front of the house?" "A sign." "What kind of a sign?" "Oh, a political sign." "What does it say?" Father looked up from his corned beef hash and laid down his fork. "It says, 'God damn Smallwood.'" Father looked unmoved, though he must have seen her wince too. "And how long will you be leaving it on the house?" "I don't know, but I'll have a serious problem if you tell me to take it down." "Will you take it down if I tell you?" she asked. Father was stumped. He looked down and searched for the answer in his hash. "Why would you tell me to do that?" "Because it will affect everyone who lives in this house. It will affect me and Felix at school. The Premier's a very powerful man." "Powerful? Surely this is Canada, not Russia. We're all free here. We have free speech. I can say what I want, can't I?" "You can say it, but we'll pay for it. We'll get it from the neighbours. You know, they all voted Liberal in the last election. Sure, when they saw what the government member could get for them, they were all conservatives back in '49. It doesn't matter. They all claim to be liberal now, and they won't tolerate an insult like that to Mr. Smallwood. I watched Father settle into his stubbornness. I'd seen it before. Father was one of those people they put on a rack in the Middle Ages and stretched until he broke in two. But he would never give in, even if the argument was only about the time of day. I'll have trouble getting a teaching job this fall. One phone call to the superintendent and my application gets ignored, she said. Father was quiet now. And what about Felix? He has to walk out from under that sign and go to school every morning. The other kids will ridicule him. This is not Alberta, Walter. People don't put up signs like that in a Newfoundland outport. There are 3 of us in this house, and you don't make a majority. Father looked over at me. What do you say, Felix? I looked up at my father, who was no longer chewing his hash. His whole plan was waiting for my answer. Our old tin clock ticked away behind me on the stove. He laid his fork down on the table. Up or down, he asked me very clearly. Usually I ducked this sort of question or waited till someone else started talking. I looked at him, looked at her, and I finally said, I kind of like it. Father turned his best poker face to Shirley. There. Would you have taken it down? She asked. Yes, he said, and continued eating his hash. And I believed him. So that's Father and his son. So you get an idea where this is going. Let's meet another important character. Her name is Old Clara White, and she ran the store. So the sign is up, and the town's mad, and everybody hates Felix after getting 2 black eyes. And Father's had his job broke once. And he has to get out in the morning and scrape the manure off the sign on a ladder and eggs and everything else they throw at it, but he does it with a happy heart. And that's the kind of fella he is. So, Felix has a job. He helps out at a store called White's Store. Let's have a look at Felix and Old Clara White. Later that morning, I ran over to White's shop, where I helped out to earn pocket money. It was the only shop in Curlew. We used to buy everything there before the supermarket opened in Shipley. The Whites liked me because I was quiet and I did my work without comment. I walked under the big sign that said White's General Store to find old Clara behind the counter. She looked up and grunted. She must have been in a good mood. I heard you had visitors today, she remarked as she wrapped a pound of sliced bologna in wax paper. No question was posed, so I offered no answer. She was curious because the police had been to his house. I always began sweeping the shop before the customers arrived. After that, I would restock the shelves and then sweep out the storeroom. When I came back and began sweeping the main shop, Clara said, I guess it was about that rude sign your father nailed to the house. I stopped sweeping. Bound to cause concern, she explained in that self-indulgent, muttering way old people can get away with. My broom was still. One bad word about Father, and that broom was going across the floor, and I was going home. She could do her own freaking sweeping. Your father never... Then our eyes met. Boom. She saw the fire. She laid down her bologna. Come here, she said, and beckoned me with a bony finger. I put my broom flat on the floor and joined her behind the counter. It was like center stage in a theater, and I was a backstage person at best. She took my arm in her mummified old claw and led me to the big front window. See that new paved road, Felix? See that road? Joe Smallwood put that road there. Look at it. I looked and saw the black tarmac running through our community like a bright black scar. Her grip tightened on my arm. See the cars on it? Do you know where they're going? They're going to goddamn Shipley to buy groceries. That's where they're going. Her lips snarled back over yellow teeth. Do you have any idea what that road did to our business? It destroyed it. Killed poor Wayne. We used to have a business here, Felix. She let go of me and raised both of her arms in the air, indicating the shop around her. I stepped back. We were a general dealer, not a grocer. We sold people everything they needed to live, boy. From the bed they were born in to the board for the box they were buried in. They bought their Christmas gifts here. They clothed their children here. We even sold books. Books, Felix. Not to speak of tons of coal, canvas for their floors, felt for their roofs. Some of them never paid us, never will. She paused and sighed. All that ended because of Joey's road. It took them to the supermarket in Shipley. They took their money with them. Only came here when they wanted to charge it. Wayne would stand here and watch the cars headed for Shipley. He'd look over this counter at the empty shop and he'd cry. I saw that big man cry, Felix. Her frail body leaned back against the wall, her arms stretched out as if she was being crucified, to the shelves and shaving lotion and hairspray behind her. Then she came down from her cross and hunched closer to me. I could smell her lilac bath oil. Her thin grin suggested another terrible secret. She glanced out the window and around the empty shop. Then she put her mummified arm around my neck and whispered, Do you know what Wayne's last words were? I surely did not, but I continued to stare at her. God damn Joey Smallwood were the last words that passed his lips. He said them to me many times before. Her eyebrows rose and she looked quickly around the shop again. But all our customers were liberals. And Wayne knew they wouldn't shop here at all if they heard him say such a thing. He never spoke up, but those were his last words on this earth. A can of hairspray fell behind her with a tinny clang and rolled across the floor. She recovered herself and pronounced her next words very clearly. I hope your father never takes it down. Silence filled the shop. A car drove past on Joey's pavement. Then even that sound faded away as Clara looked off into space. Now finish sweeping, she said. I went around the counter and picked up my broom. At the end. So that'll give you a taste of the people we're involved with here with my book. So I wanted to tell you too that the book won a number of awards. It won the Margaret Dooley Award here in Newfoundland, and it was picked as the public libraries call it the must-read book for 2020, and it won the NL Reads 2020 competition. So I'm pretty happy about it. And I had a story that won the Arts and Letters competition this year. So this year I was really looking forward to getting some publicity for my work, getting people to read it. And they had ceremonies, of course, the awards ceremony, everything cancelled with the COVID-19. So, we're very disappointed. But I'm so grateful for the National Arts Centre in Ottawa to come up with this project where I can read and musicians can play their work for a wide audience across the country. and give us a chance to perhaps recover a bit, get back on our horses, get this the promotion for our work continue. Promotion is very important for a writer. It's at least a lot of work to write a book, you know, and then you got to try to get people to read it. And there's another challenge altogether. So, if you have any questions or comments, and you're watching me on Facebook right now, well, you can type them into your comment section, and I'd be happy to read them and try to answer them, if you will. So, the other people who are very helpful to me, I'd love to mention too my publisher, Flanker Press in St. John's. Wonderful job, putting out a beautiful, physically beautiful book, in my opinion. And then there's the National Arts Centre, Royal Bank of Canada Foundation, funding this operation. Someone's got to do that. Facebook, of course, letting us transmit to each other. Sirius XM Canada, and Slate Music. And the only other thing I got to remember to tell you, let's see, we got another probably 10 minutes. The other thing is, if you want to buy the book, at least in Newfoundland, all bookstores are closed. So you can get it, if you want to get it, you can get it through Amazon.ca, of course, Amazon.ca. Costco in Newfoundland has it. They're still open. And the publisher, of course, too, flankerpress.com. So I had another selection I was going to read to you, but I think what I'm going to do now is pass on that and see if I can get this Facebook operational and see if anyone asked me a question or had some comments to make about my book. Let's try that, shall we? We'll refresh and see if there's anybody out there. People are busy. This is the big holiday weekend here in Newfoundland. Everybody usually goes trouting. So what have I got? Listening from Barrie, Ontario. Hello, Barrie. Thank you for sharing your book. How kind of you, Lorraine. Trudy's watching me in Doha. That's in Qatar, where I worked for 5 years. This thing's got a wide audience space. I think of it in terms of quality audience rather than quantity. Hi, Trudy. Hi, Dwayne. Mike Metalcoop. I need to get this book. What's it called? Mike, I got signs up everywhere, man. What's the good of you getting the book? You can't read a sign. Just joking, Mike. It's called The Sign in My Father's House. Todd Lewis, love your readings. That's very nice to hear. Now, the problem I've had with this is that more competent people can get beyond 4 comments and questions. I see there I've got 9. But I don't know how to get to the others. So, what is your book about? Well, I suppose my book is about a changing society. That's what my book is about. It's about change, and it's about moving from rural to urban, which a lot of us did. Not just here in Newfoundland, but I think it has a more international theme as people become more urbanized throughout the world, certainly in North America. It's about moving to the city and the changes and the mind-expanding experience that has. It's about growing up at university in the 60s and 70s and music and I won't go any further, but the wild parts of life that you never experience out where I came from certainly are all there. So that's pretty well what my book is about. And it's about the relationship between a father and a son. It's the relationship between a father and a son. A father is very strong in his opinions, very moral man, won't back down from anything. But the son is not like that. The son is just trying to live, just trying to get by, trying to deal with all the changes that are coming in his life as he moves to the big city. And it's about love. It's about falling in love, getting your heart broke, moving on, staying in love. It's a love story to a great extent. So, let's see. Way to go, Tom. Now that's nice. Way to go, Tom. Thank you, Agnes. Anybody? Yeah. Barrie, Ontario. See, the other thing about it is the father is not really a Newfoundlander. He's from the mainland of Canada, where I try to bring in that theme of we're joining Canada, we joined Canada, are we still Newfoundlanders? Are we Canadians now? Yeah, this is all nice, but what does it mean? And it's about finding yourself. It's about finding your identity. And that's what a lot of us are trying to do to some extent, more than others. So, what did I forget to say? I think I just about got it covered. And I wanted to thank Newfoundland Public Libraries, of course, who've been so supportive of me. We had 1,300 people voted for the book that they preferred in Newfoundland this year, and my book won. I was very happy about that. It's nice to win an award from a jury of specialists and experts in literature, which I respect. But when the people vote on the books that they're reading and enjoying in that number, I feel very, very happy that my book was the one they selected. So we're getting to the end of our time now. I got a couple of minutes left, but I'll just try to, what I'm going to do is try to refresh this, and maybe I'll be able to read some more of the questions. I never can, and I should have figured out how to do this, but shame on me. See what we get now. Oh yeah, well, we got a whole bunch of new ones. I thought we did. Oh, Mary Moore. Hi, Mary. Featured on VOCM News today. Thank you for VOCM. How many books have you written? And about what? Well, marries another woman and he doesn't like his new mom and he runs away from home. That was translated into Danish and Romanian. That was a bestseller too. I did a couple of national reading tours with that. And this is my new book. The Sign on My Father's House. This is the one that I'm trying to draw people's attention to now. Newfoundland is going through a renaissance of writers. Oh, how many books, how many wonderful books are out there now. And you got to, you got to do what I'm doing. Tell people about it. And try to persuade them that your book is the book they should read. And I appreciate any support like that. Love your readings, Tom. Are you working on another book right now? Oh, yes, I am. I'm working on the sequel to this. It's called The Stolen Land. The Stolen Land. And it's Felix, at the end of his career, he's probably in his 50s now, waiting for retirement, and he gets a phone call and draws him back into his rural home, we'll say. So that's about it for me. I can't go over my time limit. I got another minute or two. How many books have you written? Okay, great to see you on VOCM. God love VOCM. They're so supportive of writers here in Newfoundland. So, I'd say that's about it from me, folks. I want to thank you for spending your time here with me and letting me tell you about my book and listening to me read about my book. You got other things to do. And 24th of May weekend here in Newfoundland is called Victoria Day. Queen Victoria, because as I say, we were a separate dominion for years. So, once again, thank you. My book is called The Sign of My Father's House. I hope you get a chance to read it. Bye for now.